sometimes when you're doing transformation, a crisis can help.
Yes.
Never waste a good crisis. And
YouTube, welcome to my channel, Become Successful with Yemi Osho. On this channel, you will have the privilege of listening to top 10 success tips by renowned individuals all around the world. Every episode promises to be a great one. You don't want to miss it. So, kindly subscribe to this channel, click on the notification bell so that when the next video drops, you will be able to have it. See you on the next episode. Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Become Successful with your host, Yemi Osho. On today's episode, I bring to you an important personality, an interesting one at that, in person of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She is the Director General of the World Trade Organization. She was born on 13 June 1954 in Ugwaju-Ukwu, Delta State, Nigeria. She served as Nigeria's finance minister from 2003 to 2006 and also as Nigeria's foreign minister for 2 months in 2006. She served as Nigeria's finance minister in 2011 to 2015, and she has a 25-year career at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. I can go on and on reading the profile of this great personality. So sit back and relax and listen to the top 10 success tips by no other person, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
Public policy experts, the type that you all will become or have become, the type that this institution and others like it around the world produce. However, public policy alone cannot deliver the results we hope for. Let me say this again. Good public policy alone cannot deliver the results we hope for. This is because politics can derail good policies. So public policy experts must also be good students of politics and political economy. And I often say to myself that before I entered public service, I probably was not a very good student of politics. And that led to many of the problems that I experienced. But I'm not sure I would have wanted to be. That's another thought for another day. For every good measure you seek to implement in public policy, there are winners and losers, and you have to know how to sort them out. You have to know who is with you, who is against you, and how to navigate the field. Otherwise, the good public policy you want to put in place may not work. I really want you, if there's anything you take away from what I've said, to take that away. You must learn how to navigate the minefield. Advanced emerging markets, countries like Chile, have found a way to address this problem, adopting long-term risk management mechanisms and fiscal rules to manage commodity price volatility of oil and copper respectively, and smoothing their impact on their economies. Through this mechanism, Norway built up what is the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world today of over $800 billion in assets. In Chile, when the price of copper rises above the long-term forecasted price, often called the reference price, the government saves the excess foreign currency inflows in a special account. In the contrary case, when the price drops below the reference point, the government dips into the savings account to shore up its expenditures. So through this mechanism, the volatility of commodity prices tends to be largely neutral to government expenditure. More importantly, and this is the point I want to note, the politics of both Norway and Chile has yielded a social compact that says regardless of which type of government is in place, these mechanisms, this bit of good public policy is in the overwhelming interest of the country. I know that one other brave hero, a woman I admire so much, a brave activist and reformer, Aung San Suu Kyi, was faced with an equally terrible decision. Leave Myanmar to be with her dying husband in England, I'm sure you all know the story, and never come back to finish the push for democracy in the country she loved, or stay and let her loved one, her husband, die without her by his side. She chose the fight for democracy, and I'm sure it's one of the most terrible and toughest decisions she ever had to make. Graduates, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I believe I've made my point. In an imperfect world, good public policy has enemies and friends. It has winners and losers. It can result in tough, unforeseen choices. Sometimes you will find that no one can give you a roadmap, and you will have to invent an Sometimes you will find that no one can give you a roadmap, and you will have to invent and improvise as you go along. For that reason, to maximize your chances for success, do your homework beforehand. Be principled. Know what you stand for. Then find out who wins and make them your allies. Find out who loses and work out a containment strategy. I really didn't do that well. The good news, leaving you with these thoughts by President John Adams. Quote, public business must always be done by somebody. It will be done by somebody or the other. If a wise man, and I added a wise woman, declines, if a wise man or wise woman declines, others will not. If an honest man or honest woman refuses, others will not. Go out. Be that wise man and woman. Be that honest man and woman. And in spite of the challenges that I've faced out, that I've talked about, go out, conquer the world. Thank you. Maybe just to capture in a few sentences the essence, because many people don't really know that much. But I just gave a talk at the Kennedy School about can Africa surprise the world? And what I was trying to do there was to review the challenges. You know, many people think about Africa in terms of the concentration of poverty and the challenges to growth, and it is true. That as at now, there are 570 million poor people. When I say poor, those living below the absolute poverty line of $1.90 a day. There are 570 million and 453 million of them live in Africa, so almost 79%. So the image people have is of a continent of poverty. But there's a flip side to this, you know, and a continent of opportunity as well. So when I say can Africa surprise the world, it is sharing with people what are those opportunities that they often miss. Demographics is very interesting. Most of the world is aging. I think 20% or more of the population in Europe is 65 years and older, 17% in the Americas. I think another 20 in the Asias. But in Africa, it's the other way around. You know, 50 to 60% of the population in most countries is 15 to 35 years old. So the demographics, there's a demographic dividend to be won on the continent. There's a chance for increased productivity, which properly harnessed can really help to transform the continent. And that's one of my arguments. And what will it take it takes very good economic management. And the continent showed between 2000 to 2015, where it was growing at 4 to 5% a year for 1.5 decades, that policymakers can manage the economy properly. So what I'm arguing is, let's try to build on the successes we've had. We also have many sources of growth on the continent. We cannot do the kind of trick that was done in East Asia with regard to manufacturing, because manufacturing value added on the continent is about 10% and has stagnated. But there are other sectors in services that are really growing very fast and can help to transform the continent. So these are some of the arguments that I put forward. The third piece is technology. And many people don't know the mobile phone revolution. In a population of 1.2 billion, there are 750 million mobile phones. So a lot of services, a lot of are being transformed, and people are being included in the economy in many countries in ways that were not before, simply because of this technology. Not your sophisticated high-end, but even sort of low-level technology, what you can do and the information you can disseminate through the mobile phone. So I make the argument that, okay, internet penetration on the continent is about 20%, very low. But among the young people that I talked about is 40% and likely to rise. And these are the people who are going to run the continent. They are more digitally connected, more technology savvy, more willing to take risks. And so based on some of these things I've laid out, I believe that the continent can indeed surprise the world and turn around this cycle of poverty into a cycle of opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you.
Many people regarded Nigeria at this time as unreformable, incorrigible, corrupt, weak, all the things you can think about, impossible to transform. But we thought that with the high leadership of the then President Obasanjo and a good diagnosis of what were the things ailing the country, a clear vision of what results we wanted to achieve. So there were two ends of a book, if you will. The first was a vision of where we want to go and who we want to be. The end is results that we could measure to show that change was really happening. And in between was this deep diagnosis, not of the symptoms, but of the deep causes of what was wrong, and then a strategy for implementation and a team to really try and implement this within government. So this is what we had. And my story is, I captured it in a book called, which I actually brought a lot of props. I don't know if I can reach it. I'm very short, so short arms, you know. But it's called Reforming the Unreformable, Lessons from Nigeria. And what I tried to do was to talk about, you know, how did this transformation work? Where did we succeed and where did we fail? And you know, we had 4 years. The term of a president is 4 years to achieve this. So it's not like we had 10 years or 15 years to make it work. And I think that in the 4 years we had remarkable success because we had a president who believed in the transformation. One, who accepted the deep diagnosis of what was wrong: poor economic management, especially macroeconomic management, excessive reliance on one source of growth and one commodity, which was oil, and the need to diversify that. Weak institutions and corruption, which needed to be plugged in, and a lack of transparency. And then, you know, sort of a demise in our cultural values, which had sustained us as a country through the years. So those were four broad themes in the diagnosis we did, and we tried to turn this around. In order to work, you need this leadership, but you also need people to believe that something is wrong. You cannot transform a country or a place unless you've got, you know, those who are a bottom-up, if you will, as well as a top-down kind of process. So one of the challenges we faced was going out and communicating and getting people to believe that we had serious problems We couldn't afford to waste more time for Nigeria to be lagging behind, and we really needed the buy-in to change things in the country. And so we crafted a story, and I think at the bottom of all transformations, if you really want it to work, you must carry the people with whom, for whom you're trying to do the transformation, or who need the place transformed along with you. And then you must have a team of true believers who are ready to really lead in the transformation. Otherwise, it can falter, and does falter. And the third thing, or the fourth thing, is that you need results. Unless you can show people measurable results that the changes you're making are really leading to something better, then you don't get there. So for me, most transformations fail because they take a long time. They don't show results quickly enough. You need some quick wins to convince people to go along on this path. And that was what we tried to craft.
Excellent.
You know, sometimes when you're doing transformation, a crisis can help.
Yes.
You know, never waste a good crisis. You know, and I think, let me just take one, just illustrate a little story. And this is within government. You know, I was Minister of Finance for the first 3 years, and then I was asked to go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And so you're transforming, trying to do a whole of government transformation, which is very difficult. But within that, you know, you also have to convince each ministry and each sector. They have their own particular problems. So you can't just use a broad brush approach. Yes. Meaning that you've got to sort of analyze what is wrong in that particular sector and to show them. So my story with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you know, first of all, it was very difficult for me because I'm a finance person. What am I doing here? But I determined that, okay, if I go there, we are going to have to try and get the people more excited, more looking inside to see what is wrong, and more trying to change themselves. So the first thing I did when I went to the ministry, at that time, they were building a new building for them. It was going to take another couple of years. They hadn't moved in. But I noticed that the present environment, the building they were in, was so unexciting, so demoralizing. You walk in, this is a Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The first thing I noticed were scattered chairs everywhere as you entered. Guards who were sitting there lounging and slouching over their desks. The elevator as you came in didn't work. My office was on the 6th floor, so I had to climb 6 flights of stairs. Very good for me because I need the exercise. But you can imagine ambassadors coming to see you and climbing 6 flights of stairs in a big country like mine. So there were all these outside things, and I found the morale. So what was wrong? The physical environment in which they worked was unprepossessing. There was no light most of the time. There were electricity outages. You know, the rooms were stifling and hot. We couldn't receive cables because things were not working. You wouldn't believe this. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And so I thought to myself, how are you going to get people in here to even listen to the big things about transforming and serving the country better when their own particular physical environment doesn't work? So I tried to find out, why is it that this ministry is sitting in a corner where they don't get electricity regularly, and this is our Foreign Affairs Ministry. So I called the electricity people and heard there were some problems with the transformer in the place. To cut a long story short, I decided something needed to change in this physical environment in order to snap people back, because everybody was kind of demoralized, coming slouching into work. So I called the electricity people and said, this was a Thursday on which I went to work. I said, by Monday, we have to solve this problem. Long story short, we managed to find a way to get electricity back into the building. I spent the weekend not going over my papers, but clearing all the rickety chairs I found and buying potted plants. I bought a bank of potted plants and lined the front of the ministry So when people came into work, they saw a totally transformed environment. The elevators were working, etc. They couldn't believe it. Then just as I was getting into the running of and diagnosis of what we would do, a good crisis came. And this was what I exploited. Lebanon, this was 2006, and fighting broke out in Lebanon, and all countries were evacuating their nationals. But our people were not used to this. If there's problem in the country, nobody asked, are there Nigerian nationals in this country? What are they doing? Should we evacuate them? Even though we had an ambassador. So with this raging, I did something they had never done before. I called the Middle East Division. Let's get the ambassador. I called the ambassador. What are you doing? Do we have nationals? He was in shock. Put out the alarm. We are going to evacuate them. He said, but I have no money. I said, don't worry about that. Get the people in. Try to arrange. Find a plane, etc., etc. We'll get you the money. I went to the president and said, we've got to evacuate our national. For the first time in our history, we were like other countries. We evacuated our nationals. It was on television, it was on news, and other African countries that did not have any means all rushed, their nationals rushed to the Nigerian embassy and were evacuated along with us. And it became a big story of pride. And I exploited that to say, now we need change. We cannot be working the way we used to work before. Look what can happen when we work differently. Not only can we serve Nigeria better, but we can actually serve the continent better.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it's breathtaking and educational at the same time. Kindly subscribe if you've not subscribed. Click on the notification bell to get notified when a new video drops. And also share, recommend to your friends and family. If you have any comment to make, kindly comment in this comment section. Write a comment in the comment section, or you can send me an email. My email is right in the description of this video. I hope you enjoyed this episode. See you on the next one.